Everybody, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Barbara. If you're new here, I live in Tennessee in Zone 7, and y'all, you see me bundled up because it's cold. This is actually take 2. I had already recorded an intro, but let me tell you, I had to go back in the house and get my coat. I am layered up. So on this video today, we're going to talk about 3 ways that you can protect your crops if you are gardening in the winter. And so again, it's cold, y'all. And so right now it's about 20 degrees. This is first thing in the morning. And the reason why there's a sense of urgency today, the urgency of emergency, is because it's going to be 15 degrees tonight. And it's going to be sustained for about 36 hours. And so in our zone, again, we're in the South. Our winters are mild. So for those of you that are up north, this is nothing for you. But in the South, we don't get temperatures like this on a regular basis. I would say on average, our lowest temperature is probably around 20 to 25 degrees. But over the last 3 years, we have definitely had some significant drops in temperature that have been a little bit more sustained. We've even gotten below zero for like a week for the last 2 years. So this is just the beginning, I'm assuming. This is the lowest temperature it's been so far. So we're now sitting in mid-December. And so you guys know I am in my hot tunnel right now, which is where I garden in the fall and winter. I am not outside, but I'll tell you that today, right now it's 21 degrees outside in the tunnel. It's about 10 degrees higher, which is like 30. And so I was expecting it to be like 40, 45. So I came down here without this big coat, thinking I would be fine. And I quickly learned this is not okay. I got to go back in and get my coat. And so we're going to work fast. We're going to also give you some good information at the same time. So my husband's going to come down here and help me. So one of the first things we're going to do is cover our crops with frost cover. And so right now everything has insect cover on it because that's what we did in the beginning of the fall. We covered everything with insect cover, but we're going to remove this cover and actually put on frost cover. And so that's the first tip that I want to give you, is that you must cover your crops. And so what I'm using, I use, the company that I use is Tarps of America, and the brand name is Agribon, Agribon. I'll put it up at the top. And so what you see out here is Agribon 19. And so what we're about to cover it with is Agribon 30, which is going to be a heavier fabric, more like frost cover. So that's what we're going to do, is cover all the things. Now, get this. Yesterday, the high was 62. 62. And so yesterday, we had a full day. I was not able to get out of here, which is why we're out here at the top of the morning, because this is the first available moment. And really, I couldn't have done it before that because it was going to be 62. And so I did not want to cover it with frost cover, and then it's going to be 62 and sunshine, and then it drops again. So we're going to go ahead and do it now. But as I'm looking around, I can see that there's been some stuff that already looks a little bit touched, but that's okay. I think we're going to be just fine. Like, I'm looking at the broccoli. It's looking a little, the leaves are looking a little bit limp just because it got down to 20, but broccoli is usually good. Now, the things that I'm concerned about are definitely probably the lettuce. And so what I did do in advance of this is that I did come out here 2 days ago, and I actually harvested the majority of the lettuce. One, because I needed it, but then also two, I'm like, okay, if the lettuce doesn't make it, let me at least get all the lettuce that I possibly can. Another thing, if I had time, was that I would actually go through and harvest the stuff that's ready. I don't have time today, so I'm doing the best that I can with the time that I have. So one of the first things we're going to do is cover with a frost cover. Let me jump in and help my husband, and then I'll talk you through some of the other tips as well. So in an ideal world, I would have done this yesterday when it was 62 degrees, and ideally I would have come out here maybe about 2 or 3 hours before the temperatures drop and cover this, but I did not have the ability to come out here yesterday. So we're doing it this morning because this is the only time that we have before it drops tonight. And let me tell you, it is definitely cold out here. And this is, y'all, this is part of the journey. Gardening all the time is not sexy. We can, post our pictures on Instagram, Facebook of all of our harvest and the brightly colored peppers and the green greens and all that good stuff. And that is a part of it. But this is a part of it too. When I tell you I did not want to come out here this morning, I did not want to come out here this morning. But I knew that if I didn't, I knew that a lot of my stuff would not make it with it being 15 degrees, especially the stuff that was not covered. A lot of the stuff out here had insect cover from the fall and winter, but I have a section in the in-ground that was not covered at all. And even on this particular morning, last night it was about last night was around, I think 30, but by 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, it was like 25 degrees. And so I'm looking at the plants now and I can see that they've been touched just a little bit by the 25-degree weather. They're not dead by any stretch of the imagination, but a few of them are limp. Not a lot, but a few. And so I know that 15 degrees, they would not make it. But me and my husband, we kind of plow together and just go in here and try to get it done. Now, the ones that already had insect cover on there, just in an effort of moving quickly, we decided not to take off the insect cover. We just laid the frost cover on top. You can see one of the things that we do is we take our frost covers out at the end of the season, and we put them and fold them all and put them in these big, large Rubbermaid totes. So for the majority of the frost covers that you see us pulling out, this is our third year using them. And so even though it's an investment on the front end, if you take care of them, they will last year after year after year. So we put them out every winter, and then when the season is over and it's time for us to put out our summer crops, we just take all of these, fold them up, and put them in the yellow Rubbermaid tote, and then that way we have them for the next season. We secure them on the end with sandbags. Now, again, I always have to say that what you see me doing on this video when you're tuning in, and I've been gardening 5 years, is not what I did in the very beginning. Nor did I have all of these frost covers, right? And so over time, we have added these really good frost covers. I was getting some from Amazon, and again, they did not last more than one season, and they were not nearly the quality of these. And so I started buying these, and I haven't looked back. They just do a really good job. And like I said, it's an investment, right? And they're not overly expensive, but if you're thinking with this space, we have a lot to cover. I can't remember how much one is. Let's just say it's $20. Over time, that definitely adds up. But we would buy some each season and keep adding to it. And like I said, the majority of these we've had for 3 years, and they're still in really good shape. The other thing that I was saying about securing them, so we're securing them with sandbags. But when we first started out, we were securing them with T-post. We have done bricks or rocks. We've done like cinder blocks. Those can tend sometimes to tear your fabric, and they're much harder to move versus the sandbag. You can kind of just move out of the way readily, a little bit more easy. But like I said, all of that, how we started was not that way. This is where we are now. So I always just say that to encourage you that if you don't have the funds to get, 10 Agribon 30 covers, get what you can, and then you just keep adding over time, and then just take care of your stuff, and then it all tends to work out. Now, I have these fruit trees right here that the only one I'm going to cover is the elderberry one, which is the one that's on the right, that's green. Everything else should be okay. What you see here is a ton of blueberries. I have some blackberries on the left, and then I have about 3 or 4 elderberries. Now, it says elderberries are cold hardy, down to like 0 degrees. But this particular one, I'm going to use the last fruit tree cover that I have to put on that one, and I think the rest of the stuff will be fine. You can see over to the right in the circular bed, that Vego garden bed, that's sage right there. Again, it'll be just fine. It's cold hardy as well. What you can't see is on the other side on the left is where my comfrey plant is. The comfrey plant is dead, but it'll come back in the spring. It did the exact same thing last year. It looked horrible. But again, I harvested comfrey last week because I knew the cold weather was coming. And so one of the things I have realized as a gardener, you better pay attention to the weather app. You need to be one-on-one with your weather app, always watching the weather so that you know when temperatures are going to change. And so, of course, this was forecasted 10 days ago. And so I made a point to come and get my comfrey because I knew that the comfrey would not make it. And it looks horrible right now, but because it was horrible last year and it came back in the spring all beautiful, I am not concerned whatsoever. The other thing I love about these Agribon frost covers is that they can come in several different lengths. So if you have a really, really long row, like this right here is a 45, 50 foot row. And so as you can see, this is one row cover that's taken down the length of this in-ground space, 45 feet, and it reaches all the way, and we still have slack on both sides. So that's the really good thing about that. Plus the ones that I use on the raised bed are not as long because of course the raised beds are 4x8. So it gives you really good coverage as well. So that's a great thing about these covers. When I was ordering off Amazon, the sizes was very, very limited. And so a lot of times I would get one, but it wouldn't be long enough. So I'd have to get two to cover one bed. And again, it just makes it easier when you have one that can cover the whole thing. So that's you can see me, I'm putting the the fruit tree cover over there by the elderberry syrup. I can't quite get in there, so I'm gonna get my husband to get in there and do it. So at this point, y'all, we got the right side covered up completely. And now we're gonna work on the left-hand side. And that stuff, like I said, has been uncovered for really, the whole season. It hasn't been covered, and it's been just fine. And that was just pure, we just didn't get out there to it. But now tonight, we gotta make sure it's covered. Okay, y'all, so we got everything covered. And so all should be well. So for the most part, I covered everything with one layer. It's supposed to be 15 degrees, and that one layer should do it. Now, last year we got down to single digits and then even like down to 0, and it was sustained for about 5 or 6 days. And so in that instance, in a lot of places I covered with 2 layers of frost cover, and all of my stuff survived except the lettuce. And so that brings me to my next point. So in terms of the 3 tips about when you're going to be winter gardening and how to protect your crops, number 1, you got to cover your crops appropriately. Number 2 is you have to know what are the lowest temperatures that your plants can stand. And every plant has what we call a frost tolerance. You have some that are frost tender, you have some that are frost hardy, and so you need to know the differences between the two. And so that's really, really important. I know that lettuce is only good to 20 degrees. So as long as my temperature's above 20 degrees, I don't have to run out here and cover my lettuce. But it's going to be 15 degrees. And so I know the lettuce may not make it. Lettuce, again, is very soft and it's very tender. And again, I harvested a ton of it. There's only a couple of sprigs left. And so it should be okay. But if not, that's okay. Because again, we have had it since September and we have enjoyed it and enjoyed it. But with me covering it and I've already harvested it, then the roots and the plants, as long as they're intact, then as soon as it warms up, they may grow new leaves. And that's what I'm expecting. So we will see. When it comes to kale, kale is one of the most hardiest things that you can grow. It is good to like 0 degrees. Now, I did not pick and choose what I covered. I covered everything because things are in the bed mixed together. So even though kale may be good to 0, it may be beside bok choy that's only good to like 15 degrees, right? And so it's important that you know the frost tolerances for your plants, and that way you know when to cover appropriately. Now, I'm in a high tunnel, so it's going to be protected from the wind. One of the things that gets you when the temperatures drop is not just the lowest temperature, but it's also the lowest temperature and the wind. Now, mine won't get wind because they're protected on all sides by the high tunnel, but it will be as cold as it is outside, as be as cold as it is in here at nighttime. So if it's going to be 15 degrees tonight, it's going to be 15 degrees in here, which is why you want to get it covered. Now in the daytime, if it was, like I said, it's 20 degrees right now and it's 30 degrees in here. But even since I've been in here, now obviously we've been working, so I'm not cold anymore, but the sun is starting to come out even more. And so I can tell it's getting a little bit warmer in here. So you got to know the frost tolerance levels for your plants and what things are hardy all the way down to the lowest temperature. The third thing that you want to do when it comes to winterizing and protecting your crops is you want to make sure that they're good and watered. Now, today, obviously, I'm not watering because it's 20 degrees. You never want to water when the temperature is below 40. But again, what I did 2 days ago in anticipation of the temperature, I came out here and I harvested all of my lettuce because out of here, that is the most tender crop that I have. Everything else I'm not as concerned about. But also when I came out here 2 days ago, I actually watered as well. I made sure that everything was very good and saturated. Now we do run on drip, but during the wintertime, when temperatures are like this, we turn the drip off. And so we water manually about once a week. And so I came out here and watered everything, which was just 48 hours ago, to make sure that it was saturated. Now, one of the things people are like, well, why would you water before you know it's about to be a freeze? What happens when it freezes, the cells inside of your plant leaves, they almost like break or whatever. And that's when you see the leaves going limp, they turn brown and all of that. Well, if your plants are hydrated, it helps with them being able to withstand the cold temperatures, and the cell walls are not going to break as much. Now, again, timing is key. You want to do this before the temperatures drop, and you don't want to water when it's going to be 40 degrees or below. So let's say I came out here and let's say it was 40 degrees, but in an hour, the temperature is going to drop to 30 degrees. I probably wouldn't water then. I would water on up into the day so that it has time to settle into the plant cells and be okay before it freezes. Okay. So those are the 3 tips that I want you to think about. It is possible to still grow food in the fall and winter, no matter where you are. You have to, one, have a way to cover your crops. Now, I have a high tunnel, which is a great blessing, so I'm protected by the wind, but I still have to cover my crops at these temperatures. If I were gardening outside, I would do the exact same thing, except I would probably put on an extra layer of row cover. I may do 2 layers of row covers and make sure that it's very secure. Now, when I did this here, we do have sandbags at the end, but I did not clip all of the frost covers down. It's not like tight and snug because I don't have to worry about it flapping up with the wind, if that makes sense. We're not expected to have but if I were outside, you want to make sure that it is snug as a bug, right? Okay. So you want to make sure that it is completely secure, but you would still cover it this way. You can also cover it with like a heavy plastic as well and create like a greenhouse effect. So there's so many different ways so you can still garden, but you got to cover your crops. Number 2, you have to know what can withstand what when it comes to the temperatures, right? If you came to my fall gardening workshop, I gave a sheet that had a list of all the frost tolerances. I had it by plant, and I told you what things are good to what degrees. If you didn't come to that, then you didn't get that. That's why when I'm doing classes and workshops, you got to get in the room. Okay. And then number 3 is making sure that your plants are watered and saturated. Now, this is a bonus. And I'm going to throw this in here because somebody asked me a question: do you fertilize in the winter? Yes, I do fertilize in the winter, or I prep fertilize for the winter. So I actually do all of my fertilization in the fall. At this point, I'm not fertilizing anymore for the rest of this year as the temperatures are continuing to drop. But I did a lot of fertilization in September, October, and November on my regular schedule. So that's another thing that's going to help nourish your plants, right? Even in the colder temperatures, is making sure that your plants are well fed and have nutrients. And then another thing is you want to make sure that you're mulching. Mulching will also help to protect your plants and also retain some of that heat. So I told you 3, but I just gave you 5 tips on how to winterize your crops and to keep things moving. So I hope that this video was helpful for you. I hope that if your temperatures or you're part of the Arctic blast that's coming through in a certain part of the United States, I hope that these tips helped you. I hope that you're already covering your stuff, and I hope that your stuff is well protected. If you're not subscribed to my channel, I would love for you to subscribe and be part of this community. Click the button right here so that you can see more videos as they come up. Remember, y'all, it's all a journey. This is part of it, but let's do it together. I'll see you next time, friend.